It's finished! My power ranking system for EDH is finished! Now this is going to be a super long video, so grab your tea, some cookies, lean back and enjoy. Hot! So for some time I've been working on a ranking system for Commander. How to evaluate cards on an individual basis, but also to kind of understand how strong decks are and say this deck is stronger than that deck, etc. Currently we have something of a bracket system that is helping you communicate something, you could say. This is I'm not going to replace the bracket system because I am a nobody, so that's not gonna happen. But the goal is to do something of the similar, but in my opinion better. So here we have a bunch of deck lists, and you see names. For example, you have Etali, Kinnan, Krom and Tymna, etc. And we also have in yellow text, power rank. And yeah, that's the rank. That's how good they are. And as you can see, the value here goes down and it decreases and gets lower. For example, here at the bottom, I have a Azula casual deck. But here I have a confession to make. This power ranking system is not complete and it's limited to its capabilities. You see, I have collected 471 tournament games from only top 4 and top 16 from this website. That means that I've gone in here and I've gone to view brackets and I clicked pairings and then top 4 and I've collected this pod. So here we have a winner and 3 losers. And I've marked who the commanders were, but also their deck list. Then I've gone here, collected this, but I haven't touched any of this. Basically, the entire tournament is a method to eliminate or just get a certainty that we're only collecting people with a high skill in commander matches, in playing commander, so to say, which removes the factor of skill level and more focus on commander card power. But that means that as it's usually the same commanders over and over, always reaching to the top, all of the other casual things like this Dr. Octopus Master Planner, he's a good example. Lord Windgrace, another great example. Vinota is very rare, she gets up there sometimes, but in a rarity. Toph, the first metal bender, I've never seen her reach top 16 yet. Lady Octopus Inspired Mentor, she doesn't get to top 16 either. Ursa, Lord High Artificer, doesn't reach the top that much at all. Emil the Blessed, Giganta, and yeah, you get the point. There's a big variety in strong decks and weak decks in tournaments. And as I'm only focusing on top 16, I don't collect that much data on casual. Which means that this system that is currently showcasing a power rank on various different commanders can only showcase a power rank on the top most common commanders. So we do have a good verdict on Etali, we have a good verdict on Kinnan, Krom, Rogsai, TNT, and then around here at Kefka, Sisei, actually TNT too, it starts to drop. I want to focus on the missing here, 828. We're gonna get to that later. This tea is actually really good. But there's a key thing we can do here. We can go into Etali's deck list and look at each individual card. So we can see here the power rank is at 30,961.20. But we can also see each individual card. You can see here total power, 622. And then we scroll down and I made it rank all the individual cards one by one, how much power rank they contribute to the total system. And with this you can basically see, okay, I don't have this card here actually, so ignore that one. I have data on it, but I don't have the Scryfall picture. But as you can see, you can kind of see what cards are strong and weak. So you can take out cards and put in cards and yeah, look, the power ranking goes up and down depending on what cards I put into it. This is Krom and Tymna, and according to the system, Birgi is the strongest card so far. We'll get to that later. Then we have Adnos, Tymna is really strong, Diabolic Intent, Cooling the Weak, Fairy Mastermind, and we're getting all sorts of cool numbers on these different cards, how strong they are according to the system. What What is the weakest card if we just keep scrolling down here, actually? What does it view as some of the weaker ones? Well, all cards are kind of amazing and great, just saying, but still. Cyclonic Rift and Mindbreak Trap, Counterpel, Dragon's Trade Channel. Yeah, I can agree with this in some sense. However, this system can be used to create tournaments in a certain way. As well as I've showcased, you can use it to look at how strong certain individual cards are. You can also create a tournament, and currently someone could create a tournament and say, let's go with bracket free tournament. Perfect. Or let's go with a budget tournament. If you want to power down this format, that is something you can do. However, you can also use this system and say, let's put a limit on 20,000 to the power rank. And we'll only allow decks that are on 20,000 or lower, which is basically the exact same thing as saying budget tournament. If you put a budget on $500 on Moxfield and every deck has to be below that, then yeah, that's the same thing. The problem is that budget isn't really related to pure strength and the card's true power evaluation. This system is. However, it can be, as you can see, a little bit tricky reading this. So the system is all in binary, obviously, because of file space. Now here, look, you have Temple Garden, great. We have Spellseeker, great. We have Vexian Bubble, perfect. Oh, we have also, here, look, we have Sacred Foundry. But yeah, have fun trying to figure this out. So, if you are a patron of mine, write to me and I will see what I can do. And I can send you something, etc. I highly recommend writing to me as well on Discord, and we can work something out. Depending on how you want to use it, I can see what I can do, if I can build something individually for you. But this system is also getting updates. For example, these tournaments here were actually added just today, and I usually get something between 15 to 20 new games into the system each week. So it should climb from 471 to 500 pretty soon. So now we talked about the goal of this system, how the data, where it comes from, but also how you could theoretically use it, the goal of it, and I can send it to you, etc. But how in the world does it work? Can we really trust this Mons figure? Well, that's what we're going to talk about now for the rest of this video. And now it's going to be a lot of math and philosophy. So I hope you have some tea, some cookies, and time. This is not going to be a video for you if you like to talk about cards in general. This is now going to be a video if you like math and tea. So in an older video of mine, I talked about how I'm going to save casual. And this video right now is basically that answer. I've solved the problem this video is talking about. If you haven't watched this video, you should, but you don't need to. Instead, we're gonna fast forward and scroll down here. I wrote this 2 months ago. This is a 2 months old video. True story, I actually had an eureka moment. Right after uploading this video, went to purchase groceries, and I suddenly got an idea on how all of this would be solved. Still, I would love some feedback and suggestion of potential IDs. But my idea is this. We should create ID on all 2-card combinations. This means we get both synergy and individual cards power, while we still can use a smaller dataset to get true answer. Because something I talked about in that video was that Magic the Gathering cards have synergy. They are strong in a combination with another card, and sometimes they're great on their own. So how can you evaluate a card based on these 2 factors? And here is that answer, just like I kind of wrote in the video below. We are not going to rank or evaluate an individual card. We're going to evaluate all different 2-card combinations. And that's what you're seeing right here. Undual Breach, together with Flare of Duplication, have a win rate of 53%. You can actually see win rate 5.3. That is just divided by 10, so it becomes a smaller number for simplicity's sake. Otherwise the numbers will explode to high values for no good reason at all. So it wins 3% more than the total average, you could say. We'll get to that. Then it has confident challenges, and then it has a log multiplier, and then a final value of power rank 6.416. Remember that 30,000? So this is a super small portion that climbs to that 30,000. Now we can evaluate a lot of cool cards in here like Thassa's Oracle and Tainted Pact. No, sorry, Consult. Or we can do Tainted Pact 2 as well, actually. You can actually see here, they have a different power ranking, by the way. We can also do Underworld Breach and Thassa's Oracle, which is also a different power ranking. Now, in a 100 card commander deck, you have a total capacity of 4,950 total possible pairs. And now some of those values up there in the corner might be easier to understand. You see pairs, 4,950, found 4,944, missing 6. Average pair power 6.1358. And what the code does is look at the total average and okay, we have 6 missing, so just let's add the total average times 6 to reach a full 4,950, which is how you get the total power of 30,372 for Timn and Krom here. Then you can look at each individual card. For example, Birgi has pairs 99. That means that she has been paired with every single card inside the entire deck list. And the total pair power from all of those pairs together becomes 668.3080. And then you have Mockingbird, also 99, which means its total pair power is 656.0470. So now you can kind of see how each individual card is contributing to the total performance and power of the deck, so to say. But also how this becomes very dynamic. For example, Birgi and Ragavan has a power ranking of 6.647, while Birgi and Bird of Paradise have a power rank of 6.024, which is weaker compared to Ragavan. And you can find synergy between certain cards. For example, here we have the One Ring 3 times with 3 different other cards. So the One Ring and Voltaic Key, that is in general a good synergy. It is achieving a power rank of 5.49. Then you have the One Ring and Mana Vault, which is also a good synergy. Okay, they don't synergize, but with a Mana Vault and the One Ring, you can have the One Ring in play turn 2. So that's great. They don't synergize more than that though. But like Mana Vault is a pretty good card on its own, the One Ring is a pretty good card on its own, so they perform pretty okay too. But then you have the One Ring and Seedborn Muse, and suddenly the power rank went up to 6.271, which is a lot higher to 5.49. Or well, not a lot higher, but yeah, you see my point. But we still get a evaluation on cards that don't have any synergy with them whatsoever. Now sure, someone out there could argue that the Sol Ring and Mana Vault have great synergy, but I'm just going to argue they're great cards on their own, which ultimately means that we are getting the evaluation of how good a card is on its own, but also if there's a good synergy between 2 different pairs. And as you can see here, it just chains in a long way. For example, here we have the One Ring and Sol Ring, then we have Smothering Tide, Esper Sentinel, and we could basically make an entire deck list with only these cards here. And we're kind of getting a picture of how good all the cards together become something great or something wonky and weird and nothing good at all. Because if you just put a lot of things that don't synergize with each other, have a very weak power, like a strength to them on an individual level, you're going to end up with a casual deck, and you're going to end up with a deck with a low power ranking in general. Now, I'm not going to sit here in this video and showcase every single pair possibility, because that will be forever and boring. So if you want to know something specific, write to me in the comments below of this video and I can potentially send it to you. Warning, if you're asking me of fringe cards, we don't have data on them. I want to emphasize, we only have data on very common cards that is played frequently, because it actually demands a lot of games for the system to actually add a card in here, which is what we're going to talk about now. So how in the entire world is this Mons reaching this math? Well, kinda simple, but also quite long and complicated. But you will understand, don't worry. So from this specific game, we found 52,386,941 challenges. Remember those for 100 card deck can create 4,950 unique pairs. We're putting all of those pairs versus each other pair, with the winner's pair versus each individual loser, not combining the pairs from loser to loser. So first, in this case, Isika won, so it will first look between Isika and Rocco. Now, first and foremost, if there is a identical pair in both decks, let's just throw out like Command Tower, Sol Ring. Both of them probably have that card inside their decklist, so that pair is removed from the entire evaluation. Then once it removed all duplicates from both sides, it compares all pairs and then does it the same thing with the second loser and the third loser. And that's how it achieves a 52 million different unique challenges. And that looks like this. Now this is not specifically from that game actually, but you can see here all the different pairs. You can see a Chain of Vapor, Polluted Delta, with a plus, basically combining the two, and then a versus a split, and then you say Jeska's Will plus Temple Garden, and you see a 0/1. That means that the winner pair here was Jeska's Will and Temple Garden. And then you just keep going down. For example, you have Jeska's Will plus Temple Garden versus Mental Misstep plus Mind Break Trap, and here Jeska's Will and Temple Garden won again, and yeah, this just keeps going until you have, those 52 millions. This also means that the more mirror match or more identical the commander lists actually are, the less challenges you actually get. Sometimes I've actually gotten something like 24 million unique challenges, and my record is 69 million challenges. This is actually the very usual typical value I get. 52 million is quite common. Okay, but then what? Well, we're going to combine those together and save them so that once again, when that here at the top, Chain of Vapor plus Polluted Delta versus Jeska's Will plus Temple Garden. That's one game. Once they encounter each other again in this situation, it will accumulate and climb in value. Now I actually can't showcase that to you because it's all in binary. I mean, we can just do this here, output, go in here. It's going to think for an enormity. Let's just take this one, read, and yeah, that's how it looks like. However, this is more or less how it looks like once you translate binary. So here we have an example of a challenge. You have Thassa's Oracle plus and Demonic Consultation versus Underworld Breach and Rite of Flame. And in this case, you can see the 3/5, which means that Thassa's Oracle and Demonic Consultation has a win rate in this individual challenge of 37%. Then you have a new challenge, Thassa's Oracle and Consultation versus two casual cards. Those two cards could be anything, it doesn't really matter. And suddenly it wins 9 of 10, which gives it a 90% win rate, because 9 of 10 is 90. Then you combine all of those, so 37 plus 90 equals 36.5. Okay, I've actually forgotten to divide it by 2, but you get the point. We're basically combining every single one of those challenges. Like this continues for like ever. Like the amount of challenges every pair has, well, we're gonna get to that, is very high. But what you get is a total average of all of that. Then we're basically doing the same thing with Underworld Breach, Rite of Flame, versus that Thassa's Oracle and versus that casual card too. Now in this case, Underworld Breach and Rite of Flame had a win rate, remember, the fastest and console got 35. Well, that means that the other side gets 62.5, while it gets 100% versus that casual deck. So they end up with a 81.25 average win rate by combining the two values, 62.5 plus 100, and divide it into 81. And then of course we do the exact same thing with the casual deck or casual challenge. And as you can see, they don't perform that well at all. They lose a lot. And yeah, they end up with an average win rate of 5. And now suddenly we have a pairing leaderboard, you could say. So in this small simulation, fastest Oracle would receive we also divide it by 10. Remember, so what you see is actually the win rate, then divided by 10. This is just to make the numbers smaller. But the simple logic is this. What we are creating is a wrestle match of all different unique pairs and versus different other cards. And a pair that is in general really strong will defeat a lot of opponents. Now, if a pair is equally strong to another pair, the challenge is 50-50. Both will get a 50% win rate versus each other. But once they are starting to fight versus casual pairs, weaker pairs, they're going to beat them more often and get a higher win rate. So if you beat a lot of weak, you get a higher win rate. If you fight versus the same kind of strength, you get the same win rate. And this is, by the way, why the entire system is just going to generate a very equal outcome, because I've only included the top of the top best decks you can find, and that means that the spread inside the system is very small. All deck lists in general in the system are going to be very narrow, because something I've said in a lot of my videos, the card choices doesn't truly matter that much. What matters is player skill. At the top best, it's kinda equal in general. However, we're doing one more thing. We're creating a criteria such as confident challenges, and we're putting a value at 20. So for example, here we have two different challenges. We have the pair, or we have a free pair. We have Underworld Breach and Dragon's Rage Channeler. First, they go up against Fellor Stone and Arcane Signet. Now, this is a very common interaction. They go up against each other quite often. So they have a 17 plus 9, which equals into 26. So that means it is above 20 and it is approved. This is more of a confident challenge. But then you have another example. Faithless Looting and the Green Goblin thing. Now in this situation, the Green Goblin thing this is not the Green Goblin, this is the Rakdos Goblin, sorry. However, in this situation, that commander thing has won 3 times. Now, that doesn't mean much. You need more games. And that is why we have a confident criteria of 20. This could of course increase over time. It kind of just evaluates how much we want to put demand of trust to the system, you could say. But if we go back to this graph right here, you can see Underworld Breach and Birgi, they have a confident challenge. What is that? 19,539. So they have a lot of confident challenges. And all of those confident challenges have combined into an average win rate of 5.5 or 55% or 55.15% to be more specific. Now they have a lot more challenges, trust me, but it has been basically excluded everyone that is below 20. Over time, with more data, more games, the confident challenges will increase in value. But then what? You're seeing win rate 5.5, but the power rank is at 6.6. This takes us to the log 10 system. So what this means is that each confident challenge of 10 increased by multiplied by a 10 will increase the win rate by 1.05 multiplier. So for example, if you have 10 confident challenge, you increase your win rate by 1.05. If you have in that situation actually, that we showcased, that had, 19,000, you increase your win rate by 1.2, as you can see on this graph. This means that the next multiplier demands more challenges over time. This is a great system to acquire confidence. A pair that is used a lot will acquire a higher multiplier log multiplier, and get a more higher reward. Because something I've noticed is that when you have very few challenges, you can end up with a very high win rate or a very low win rate. So it's a system that is just balancing everything more together. However, a new card coming in will usually get a good win rate or a bad win rate, and it will have, in the end, a pretty equal evaluation to older cards that have basically found themselves somewhere around the 50% evaluation. This is definitely where you could debate and discuss other methods of acquiring this, but I think this is a good system. In any case, the total finished product is containing 3,922 unique cards, because the amount of cards inside cEDH tournaments are very few. Well, 4,000 is not that small, but still. If you compare it to the amount of unique cards in casual, it's tiny. Basically, every player is playing the same identical card, more or less. Like, from decklist to decklist, sometimes the difference is 10 cards. Which is also kind of why this system will only answer, currently, the top of the top most common cEDH decklists you can find. Now, from that, we get a, what is that? 569,040 different unique pairs. And among those, we have 53,619 that are confident. And as you can see here, we have an enormous amount of not confident, not finished pair. So there's a lot of pairs out there that don't have a single confident challenge in them so far. Once again, also why we don't have a good verdict on a lot of cards. For example, Lumra have played in a few cEDH games, but we don't have a single pair with Lumra yet, because Lumra hasn't, I don't think I have 20 games with Lumra yet. Let's actually take a look at that. So this is actually those 471 tournaments. Here is Lumra. Yeah, so Lumra currently has total game count 13. That means that there's not a single pair with Lumra currently inside this system yet. Once Lumra reaches 7 more games, Lumra will get a evaluation. So it's just a matter of time, but that's where the system stands currently. And all of that, all those 471 games so far have basically taken 108 gigabyte. Over time, I'm going to make my computer into a data center. But that's it. That's more or less how it all works. That's more or less how we acquired different values on these cards and commander decks currently right here. Now, if we actually scroll down to that Azul Casual, and let's go in and look at it. We currently have 70 cards in it because it contains basic lands like swamps and mountains. So that decreases it from 100 to 70. Among pairs that is possible from 170, you have 2,415 possible. Among those, you have found 195 and 2,200 missing. However, you can have average pair power, so you can theoretically use this system kinda and see how many cards you're playing in this casual Azula deck that are somewhat cEDH-y. For example, Hullbreaker Horror inside this build is not a casual card. That's a cEDH card. Past in Flames is a cEDH card. Dual Cost Mage, and etc. But then you have things like Lightning Greaves, Aggravated Assault, and suddenly here there's a lot of cards we simply don't have any power ranking to whatsoever. But you could throw in any casual deck and get a small tiny picture of it if you wanted to. And in theory, you could sit with 2 different casual decks and just look like, oh, look here, you're playing a bunch of cEDH cards that are really strong and such. That's it for this video, and thank you so much for watching. Once again, if you wanna talk with me about it, write to me on Patreon or Discord, if you are a Patreon. Or if you just want to talk and philosophize and send some feedback, feel free to write a comment below in the description below of this video. And if you want to actually see like a pair here and there, feel free to write one too and I will look into it. As this system is going to acquire more games, like I said, something between 15 to 20 new games each week, it is naturally going to grow over time and becomes something with a stronger certainty. Once it does, and I will definitely make update videos on it. But until then, have a great day guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.